A seed sitting in the spice aisle of your grocery store is powerful enough to get a healthy newborn flagged for a rare genetic disease. That has happened in real hospitals, more than once. A mother eats these seeds while she's pregnant or nursing. A compound in them passes through her body and turns up in the baby's urine. The screening lab picks up the odor. The odor matches maple syrup urine disease, and a completely healthy infant gets worked up for a metabolic emergency that was never there. The compound is sotalon. The seed is fenugreek. Most people hear the word seed and picture something inert, something you sprinkle on yogurt. A food that can rewrite the chemistry of your sweat and your urine inside of a day is not inert. It's doing something to you. Which matters because about 1 in 8 Americans is now living with diabetes. And according to the CDC, it's the #1 cause of kidney failure in this country, the #1 cause of lower limb amputation, the #1 cause of adult blindness. Those outcomes don't arrive overnight. They're what 15 or 20 years of blood sugar running just slightly too high eventually buys you, and almost nobody feels it happening while it's happening. So this seed, fenugreek, contains an amino acid that exists nowhere in the human body, not in your muscle, not in your blood, not in any mammal anyone has ever tested. When French researchers isolated it and dropped it onto living human pancreatic tissue, that tissue started releasing insulin. But only when glucose was already high. At normal glucose, it did nothing. It only works when you need it to.
Now, most people who try fenugreek feel absolutely nothing, and it's almost never because the seed doesn't work. There are 3 specific ways people throw the benefit away before it reaches them, and I'll show you all 3 later in this video, because if you get those wrong, none of the rest of this matters. Before that, you're going to get a Nobel Prize measurement from 1959 that proved almost everybody had type 2 diabetes backwards, a Columbia University finding that changed what your beta cells are even doing, and the exact protocol from a 3-year trial. If you're getting something out of this, take 2 seconds and hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it decides whether videos like this reach anybody else. You have probably been told some version of this. Your pancreas burned out. You've lost a big share of your beta cells. The loss is permanent, and your job for the rest of your life is to slow the slide. Almost every part of that is wrong, and we've known the first part was wrong since 1959. In a converted janitor's closet at a VA hospital in the Bronx, a nuclear physicist named Rosalyn Yalow and a physician named Solomon Burson built a way to measure hormones in blood at concentrations nobody could see before, billionths of a gram. When they pointed it at insulin, they expected to find diabetics running low. Instead, the numbers came back normal and in plenty of cases, high, higher than in people without diabetes. Your factory was never shut down. It was running overtime while nobody picked up the shipment. Think about what that means for you if you've been told your pancreas is failing. The organ was doing its job. The problem was on the receiving end, in your muscle and your liver and your fat, where the signal was arriving and getting ignored. That measurement split diabetes into the 2 diseases we now recognize and earned Yalow a share of the 1977 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine.
That in 2012, a team at Columbia University led by Domenico Accili went after the second part, the part where your beta cells supposedly die. They tested it in mice using lineage tracing, which tags a cell and follows it wherever it goes, a bit like chipping your dog's collar. If those cells were dying, the tags would vanish from the tissue. They didn't vanish. The cells were still sitting right there. They had stopped behaving like beta cells, switched off the genes that define them as beta cells, and reverted to a more primitive state. Some had changed jobs entirely and started acting like a different endocrine cell type. The conclusion, published in Cell, was blunt: dedifferentiation, not death. 4 years later, the same group found the same pattern in pancreas tissue from human donors with type 2 diabetes. So your workers didn't quit, they took off the uniform. And a cell that went quiet is a completely different problem from a cell that's gone, because quiet cells can be woken up. Which raises the obvious question, woken up by what? Roy Taylor at Newcastle University spent years arguing the answer was fat, not fat on your hips, fat sitting inside your liver and your pancreas in tissue where it has no business being, stressing those cells until they drop into survival mode. His prediction was that pulling the fat back out would let them come back online. That got tested in the DIRECT trial, published in the Lancet in 2018. Ordinary primary care patients, structured weight management, no exotic drugs. At 12 months, 46% were in remission, off their diabetes medication with non-diabetic blood glucose. At 2 years, more than a third were still there. The follow-up work found that whether somebody responded came down largely to whether their beta cells still had the capacity to recover, and that capacity was strongest in the first several years after diagnosis.
That's your window, and it's a lot wider than you've been told. Notice what that finding does and doesn't say. It doesn't say everybody recovers. It says the people who recovered were the ones whose cells still had something left to wake up, and the odds of that are better the closer you are to diagnosis. If you were told you were pre-diabetic 2 years ago and filed it away, you are sitting in the best part of that window right now. If you've had this for 15 years, the odds are worse, but they aren't zero, and nothing in that data says stop trying. Now, you clicked on this for the seed, so let me give you the single most useful thing in this video right now, before any of the science, in case you close the tab in 4 minutes. Buy whole Fenugreek seeds, not capsules, about $3 a bag. Tonight, put 1 to 2 teaspoons into a small glass of room temperature water and leave it on the counter. In the morning, the seeds will have swollen and the water will have gone slippery and faintly gelled. Drink the water, eat the seeds, and do it 10 minutes before you eat, not after. That last part is the whole game, and I'll explain exactly why in a few minutes. Most people do it backwards and wonder why nothing happened. Fenugreek is a legume, same family as peanuts, chickpeas, and lentils. The botanical name is Trigonella phenum graecum, which translates roughly as Greek hay, because the Romans fed it to livestock. It's been in the human food supply for thousands of years, which matters more than it sounds because it means we have an enormous real-world safety record rather than a decade of lab data. 3 things inside that hard little seed are worth your attention.
The first is the one from the opening, and it's called 4-hydroxyisoleucine. In fenugreek seed, it accounts for roughly 80% of the free amino acid content, so it isn't a trace curiosity, it's the dominant player. It also comes in 2 mirror image forms, and the one making up about 90% of what's in the seed happens to be the biologically active one. In 1998, a French team published work in the journal Diabetes showing this molecule directly stimulates insulin release from isolated islets of Langerhans, including human islets. The effect was strictly glucose-dependent. At low glucose, nothing at all. Only once glucose climbed above normal did the insulin response switch on. Which also tells you something about your own biology. You have no enzyme built to handle this molecule because nothing in your evolutionary history ever needed one. Sit with that because it's the opposite of how sulfonylurea drugs behave. Those push insulin out regardless of what your blood sugar is doing, which is exactly why they can drive you too low. This compound only steps in when there's glucose to deal with. Second, galactomannan, a soluble fiber unusually abundant in this seed. That slippery water in your glass is the galactomannan, and the same thing happens inside you. It thickens the contents of your small intestine, so glucose has to work harder to reach the intestinal wall. Same class of mechanism as guar gum, slower absorption, flatter curve, smaller demand on your pancreas at every meal. Third, diosgenin and the furostenolic saponins, which appear to act further downstream on insulin signaling and on how your body handles fat. Diosgenin is worth a footnote of its own. It's a steroidal compound, and in the 1940s, chemists worked out how to convert plant diosgenin into human steroid hormones, which is how the first oral contraceptives got made. Same class of molecules sitting in a seed you can buy at the grocery store. 3 separate levers in one seed, which sounds fantastic right up until you ask whether any of it holds up in real humans. It does, with limits, and you should hear both halves. In 2021, a team led by Merlin Wilcox at the University of Southampton published something unusually useful in Frontiers in Pharmacology. Rather than running one more trial, they gathered 25 existing meta-analyses covering 18 different plant remedies and ranked them purely by effect on A1C. Fenugreek seed landed in the top 3, alongside aloe vera gel and psyllium fiber, with a mean A1C reduction of 0.85%. Tea extracts, for comparison, did nothing measurable. Their conclusion was that several of these plants appear to be about as effective as conventional glucose-lowering treatments for bringing A1C down, which is a striking thing to find in a journal of pharmacology. A 2023 systematic review out of Woosuk University in South Korea pooled 10 randomized controlled trials covering 706 participants. Fenugreek significantly lowered fasting glucose, 2-hour glucose after a glucose load, and A1C. It also improved triglycerides and HDL cholesterol. No liver toxicity, no kidney toxicity, no serious adverse events anywhere in the body of work. The main complaint was gas and bloating. A 2024 meta-analysis in Helion put harder numbers on it, fasting plasma glucose down about 20 milligrams per deciliter, A1C down 0.54%. Put that in your own terms for a second. If you're sitting at 7.5, that's a move to around 7.0. It will not take you from diabetic to normal on its own. It is also not nothing, and it costs $3. The benefit showed up most clearly at doses of 10 grams a day or higher and in people over 45. Now, the study that should matter most to you if you're sitting in prediabetes right now, because it's the only one that asks the prevention question properly.
At Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences in Hyderabad, researchers took 140 adults with prediabetes and followed them for 3 years, not 12 weeks. One group took 5 grams of Fenugreek powder twice daily before meals. The other got standard dietary care. Blood work every 3 months for the whole duration. By the end, the control group was 4.2 times more likely to have crossed the line into type 2 diabetes. Fasting glucose fell in the Fenugreek group, post-meal glucose fell, and circulating insulin rose 4 times. That's the gap between the group that added a teaspoon of seeds to lunch and dinner and the group that did what their doctor already told them to do. Which brings me back to the promise I made at the start and the 3 ways people throw all of this away. Mistake 1 is capsules. Every one of those trials used whole seed or seed powder, and the fiber is not an inert bulking agent sitting alongside the active compound. The galactomannan is one of the mechanisms. Buy a supplement that isolates an extract and you've kept one lever and thrown out another. Mistake 2 is timing, and this is the big one. That fiber has to already be sitting in your small intestine when the carbohydrate shows up. If you take it after eating, the glucose has a head start and the gel arrives to an empty road. 10 minutes ahead of your meal is enough. The Hyderabad trial split it, 5 grams before lunch and 5 before dinner, and that split dose timing is probably doing a lot of the work people credit to the seed itself. Mistake 3 is quitting at week 3. The trials that showed anything meaningful ran 12 weeks to 3 years. Nobody's fasting glucose moves in 9 days. Your A1C is a rolling average of roughly 3 months of blood sugar, so even if the seed started working on day 1, the number you'd use to check it physically cannot reflect that yet. Give it 90 days. Beyond that, the practical stuff. Start with half a teaspoon for the first week and build from there, because jumping straight to 2 teaspoons is how you end up bloated and convinced this doesn't work. If you buy powder instead of whole seed, keep it sealed and out of the light and use it within a couple of months, since ground seed goes stale fast and the volatile compounds leave with it.
The bitterness is real and it doesn't fade. Lemon juice helps a lot, and so does folding the soaked seeds into yogurt. What doesn't help is boiling them into submission, so keep any heat gentle. If you want the version almost nobody bothers with, sprout them. Soak 12 hours, drain, rinse twice a day, and in about 3 days you have sprouts that are far less bitter and work fine in a salad. Then measure. Check fasting glucose at the same time every morning, before coffee and before you start moving around. If you wear a continuous monitor, watch your post-meal peak on the days you take it against the days you forget. Now the honest part, because you've earned it. This seed is not what puts diabetes into remission. Losing fat out of your liver and pancreas does that, and everything Direct showed points back to it. Fenugreek is a real, measurable $3 assist that lowers the load while you do the harder work. A lot of these trials are small. Blinding is difficult when your intervention tastes this bitter. Effect sizes swing between studies, and Fenugreek is not part of any standard treatment guideline. And some of you should not do this at all. If you're pregnant, skip it entirely at these doses. Fenugreek has a documented uterine stimulant effect and has been used traditionally to bring on labor. Cooking with it is a separate conversation. Multi-gram daily supplementation is not. If you take warfarin or another blood thinner, don't add this without telling your doctor. Fenugreek contains coumarin-related compounds. The interaction is flagged by the NIH, and it needs INR monitoring rather than guesswork. If you take insulin or a sulfonylurea, this is the one that concerns me most. Fenugreek lowers blood sugar on its own. Stack it on a drug that also lowers blood sugar, and you can go too low. That isn't theoretical. It's among the most commonly reported adverse effects in the literature. Talk to whoever manages your medication first.
If you're allergic to peanuts, chickpeas, lentils, or soy, be careful. Same plant family, cross-reactions are documented, and a 2025 review of the human safety literature found no deaths ever attributed to fenugreek, but plenty of allergy case reports. Test with a tiny amount. And if you have surgery scheduled, stop 2 weeks beforehand. Also, expect the maple syrup smell within a day or 2. It's the Sodalon. It's harmless. And if you're nursing a newborn due for screening, mention it to the pediatrician so nobody panics. Your beta cells are far more likely to be dormant than dead. Remission is documented, not hypothetical, and the window is widest right now, earlier being better than later. Soak the seeds tonight, take them before your meals, and give it 90 days. You have more room to work with here than anyone has told you. Your pancreas is not finished with you. If this video is informative, then comment yes. That motivates us to produce more videos like this, and send it to the one person you thought of while you were watching.